Hello and thank you for joining us on another episode of The Eagle. Today we will be looking at the concept of immunity clause, which has been a very complex one on Nigerian democracy and in the fight against corruption in Nigeria. We shall look at all the perspectives, the challenges and the ways forward. But what is immunity clause? It is defined as the exemption from performing duties which the law generally requires other citizens to perform, or exemption from a penalty or burden that the law places on other citizens. It means freedom from duty or penalty, an exception from any charge, duty, tax or imposition. My name is Aisha Muhammad and with me on the program is
Abbas Abubakar Omar. Immunity clause gives protection to officials in government. It also checks excesses of profligacy of political office holders. On the other hand, challenges abound with immunity clause. In a democracy like Nigeria, immunity clause gives rise for electoral malpractices, erodes social norms, opens doors for corruption and incumbency factors, as well as lack of viable opposition. So stay tuned to us as we will tell you more on the topic.
The Executive Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC, Ola Olukoide, has once again been recognized for his unrelenting commitment to transparency, justice and integrity in the fight against corruption and other financial crimes, as he was conferred with the prestigious award for courage in justice and transparency by the Nigerian human rights community. The event, which took place on Wednesday, April 16, 2025, at the Airport Hotel in Lagos, was attended by top public servants, civil society leaders, and stakeholders in governance and justice. Our reporter Mardia Umar tells us more.
Olukoide, who was represented by the Chief of Staff to the Commission, Commander of the EFCC, Michael Nzekwe, emphasized the collective responsibility of all Nigerians in the fight against corruption, stating that the obligation to our nation and to the future generations in fighting corruption requires courage and transparency. He described the recognition for courage in justice and transparency as both humbling and motivating, adding that combating graft demand unwavering resolve. The anti-graft chief further stated corruption being a monstrous mountain needed courage to be broken into pieces. Olukoide, who stressed the need for transparency among EFCC operatives and the entire justice system, asserting that he who comes to equity must come with clean hands, while urging the civil society and advocacy groups to intensify efforts in promoting justice and integrity across the country. The EFCC boss dedicated the award to the hard-working staff of the Commission and expressed appreciation to the Nigerian human rights community and the Green People's Environmental Network for the honor, saying that the award would encourage the Commission to do more.
Justice F.N. Ogazi of the Federal High Court sitting in Ikoyi, Lagos, on Tuesday, April 15, 2025, ordered the final forfeiture of 2,041,087,747 naira units of Living Trust Mortgage Bank PLC, formerly known as Omoluabi Mortgage Bank PLC, valued at 6,656,356,932.69 naira. The court also ordered the final forfeiture of the sums of 42,461,096 naira 66 kobo and $26.44. Our reporter has more.
The shares and the funds in the accounts were traced to City Trust Holdings PLC and its subsidiaries. The judge gave the order following a motion on notice filed by the Lagos Zonal Directorate 2 of the EFCC, Okotiebo, Ikoyi, Lagos, through its counsel, Hamad A. Usman. Justice Ogazi had earlier granted the interim forfeiture of the properties and also ordered the publication of the said order in a national newspaper for any interested parties to show cause why they should not be finally forfeited to the victims. Moving the application for the final forfeiture, Osman said the Commission had published City Trust Holdings plc and some of its subsidiaries as part of the companies being prosecuted for operating as a Ponzi scheme. He said the properties were found to have been purchased with several investors' funds. The respondent, City Trust Holdings plc, however, contested the EFCC's application for the final forfeiture through a motion and an affidavit. In his ruling, the court discountenanced City Trust's application and affidavit to show cause and saw merit in the EFCC's application. The judge consequently ordered the final forfeiture of 6.6 billion naira shares, 42.4 million naira, and $26.44 to the victims. The judge also ordered that the victims be paid what is due to them and the remainder, if any, be forfeited to the federal government of Nigeria. Insert break. I am Chinonso Alexander Eni, reporting for the Eagle.
The head, Media and Publicity Unit of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC, Dele Oyewale, a deputy commander of the EFCC, has emerged Nigerian Institute of Public Relations NIPR Outstanding Federal Government Spokesperson of the Year 2025. The award ceremony, which took place on Wednesday, April 16 also in Abuja Continental Hotel, was themed Integrity and the Evolving Roles of Spokesperson in Leadership Communication. Oyewale emerged winner in a highly competitive category that included presidential spokesperson Mr. Bayo Onanuga and Josephine Adokoro Mudassiru of the Federal Capital Development Authority (FCDA). Ojochukutami Eche was there and tells us more.
The chairman of the Awards Adjudication Committee, Dr. Shuaibu Hussaini, while commending the nominees, emphasized that the selection process was rigorous and driven by merit. Oyewale stood out for his infusion of finesse and strategic communication, skillful workmanship, impactful media engagements, and consistency in the excellent projection of the EFCC's image and in enhancing public understanding of the Commission's mandate and activities. Winners from other categories include Distinguished Spokesperson of the Year Oil and Gas Olufemi Shoneye of the NNPCL, Best Corporate Spokesperson Team Nigerian Customs Service, Most Supportive CEO to Spokespersons Public Sector Kashifu Inua of NIDDA, Outstanding Spokesperson Marine and Blue Economy Osage Edwards Omoruyi of NIMASA, and Outstanding Spokesperson Security Services Femi Babafemi of the NDLEA, among others. In his remarks, Joshua Audu Ghana, member, House of Representatives, congratulated the organizers for identifying and rewarding outstanding communicators across various sectors and lauded the winners for their professionalism and devotion, urging them to continue striving for excellence in the roles they play. The special guest of honor, Chairman, House Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Honorable Akintunde Rotimi Jr., emphasized the need for institutions and organizations to involve spokespersons in policy formulation and decision-making processes, noting that spokespersons should be equipped with first-hand knowledge of key issues to enhance their effective and accurate public communication. The National Spokespersons Awards is Nigeria's foremost platform for celebration of excellence in public relations, strategic communication, and media management. The award is an annual celebration of individuals and organizations that demonstrate professionalism, innovation, and impactful public communication. This is Ojochukutami Eche reporting for The Eagle.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC has called for a deeper collaboration between the Commission and the Nigeria Police. The Director of Investigation, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC, Commander of the EFCC, CE Abdul Karim Chukor, made the call in Abuja while on a courtesy visit to the Commissioner of Police, Federal Capital Territory FCT Command, Saka Adewale Alao. Our correspondent completes the report.
Chukwu, who was accompanied on the visit by the Acting Director, Abuja Zonal Directorate, Assistant Commander of the EFCC, ACE1, Michael Wetkas, said the essence of the visit was to smoothen any work-related friction or misconception that may arise between operational and tactical officers of both law enforcement agencies. He noted that the success stories of the EFCC over the years have a direct bearing with the collaboration with the police. While appreciating the CP for receiving him and his entourage, Chikol said that though the journey ahead was arduous, he was certain the new CP was equal to the task, going by his good track records. In his response, CP Alawo appreciated the director and his team for the visit, stating that it was on record that he was the first from EFCC to visit the FCT command. He noted that the strength of law enforcement was in synergy and strategic collaboration at different levels to effectively deal with crimes. Alawo further noted that nobody is an island because where one's knowledge and experience stops, that of the other person starts, and that is the reason everyone involved needed to come together in order to be stronger and better. Other members of the entourage include Assistant Commander of the EFCC, ACE-1 Hussaini Saidu, ACE-1 Adenike Sani, ACE-2 Aliyu Wali Abubakar, ACE-2 Olayinka Macaulay, Chief Superintendent of the EFCC, CSC Ongondo Ogweta, and Assistant Superintendent of the EFCC, ASE-2 Obina Esinwa. Amina Kawa, reporting for the Eagle.
Immunity clause, as a concept, seeks to protect the dignity of an office, not the individual officer holder. As such, the purpose was, however, hijacked and turned into an avenue for fraud and embezzlement. In the interview segment, we explore the concept of immunity clause in the fight against economic and financial crimes. Let's go to Miracle Chuku Agozium and our guest to discuss the topic. Over to you, Miracle.
According to Section 308 of the 1999 Nigerian Constitution as amended, the immunity clause is meant to provide a shield for the person of the president, vice president, governor, or deputy governor from frivolous or vexatious litigation in respect of personal or criminal proceedings that would distract him from the serious business of governance. As a law enforcement agency, the question as to how the Commission views this immunity clause has always been in the front burner. How desirable or otherwise is this clause in the fight against corruption? What is its implication in the dispensation of justice, and what is applicable in other countries? These and other issues will be tackled as we welcome ACE-2 David Ingbe, PhD. He is the head Special Duties Committee 3 of the EFCC here at the headquarters, Abuja. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much. Before going into the topic of today, let me first ask you, what generally is corruption?
The concept of corruption refers to the abuse of entrusted power for personal gain. This can manifest in various forms such as bribery, embezzlement, favoritism, nepotism, as it were, manipulation of systems for private gain. Corruption erodes public trust, weakens institutions, drives away investment, hampers economic development as well as social development. It can occur in any sector, from government sector to businesses to education to healthcare. Corruption is a widespread phenomenon in our society.
What is the immunity clause with respect to corruption?
Immunity clause is a legal provision that exempts certain individuals or entities from legal proceedings, penalties, or liabilities that will typically apply to others. In Nigeria, for example, Section 308 of the 1999 Constitution grants immunity to the president, the vice president, the governor, executive governor of states, the deputy governor, from civil and criminal proceedings while they are in office. This is intended to allow them to focus on their official duties without distractions from litigation. It is a practice that derives from an anachronistic legal doctrine encapsulated in the legal maxim rex non potest peccator, which means the king can do no wrong.
What is the implications of immunity clause in our constitution?
Particularly in Nigeria, the immunity clause has been criticized heavily because, one, it shields corruption. Critics argue that the clause enables public officials to engage in corrupt practices without fear of legal repercussion. Where officials misuse public funds and abuse power with reckless abandon or impunity because they know that within that time, no civil criminal prosecution can be brought against them. It has also been criticized for undermining accountability. And so by exempting these officials, they are not held accountable for their action. And so this contradicts the principles of democracy and the rule of law. Immunity also encourages abuse of power. The immunity clause, linked to cases where officials exploit their position for personal gain, because at that time they are shielded from prosecution. Again, immunity clause contradicts the anti-corruption efforts of government. And remember, in the last 20 years or thereabout, anti-corruption regime had gained ground all over the world. And now, if you're fighting corruption, and then certain persons who occupy position of trust, like the president, the vice president, the executive governor of states, are shielded. It contradicts that principle of equality before the law. It also facilitates, or rather encourages, public distrust. With the immunity clause, a lot of people have come to distrust governance because they see people who occupy those offices as engaging in actions that betray the confidence that is reposed on them.
What is obtainable in, as regards to this immunity clause in other countries?
It is true that various countries have different versions of immunity. Sovereign immunity, as it were, from the legal maxim rex non potest peccator. In the United States, for example, immunity is more limited and nuanced. For example, the president has immunity from civil lawsuits for action taken while in office. But this does not extend to criminal acts. Former presidents can be prosecuted after leaving office in the United States. In France, the presidents enjoy immunity from prosecution during his term. But this is limited to actions taken in official capacity. For instance, if he goes home and misbehaves, criminal and civil action can be brought against him even while he's in office.
As a president?
As a president. Once their term ends, they will be face prosecution, actually, for the French version.
Yes.
Yes. Once those actions are not actions taken in official capacity,
yes,
they'll be prosecuted once their term ends. In the United Kingdom, the concept of immunity is less formalized. The monarch is immune,
yes,
from prosecution, but other public officials, including the Prime Minister, do not enjoy broad immunity protection. The Prime Minister can be prosecuted while in office.
That's in the United Kingdom?
In the United Kingdom. In South Africa, immunity is not as extensive as in Nigeria. Public officials can be held accountable for criminal acts even while in office. You remember that the president of the South Africa, yes, was prosecuted while he was a sitting president.
Yes.
In Australia, immunity is limited and primarily applies to actions taken in an official capacity. Officials can still be held accountable for personal misconduct.
Has the immunity clause ever posed any challenge to the Commission, and how is it being handled?
Definitely, the immunity clause in Nigeria has posed challenges to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and its fight against corruption. Since the clause protects sitting presidents, vice presidents, governors, deputy governors from prosecution. Cases against them are delayed. The EFCC often face delays in pursuing cases against these officials, even when there are substantial evidence of wrongdoing.
Yes.
However, the Commission had utilized the instrumentalities of the law as the Act provides. For instance, freezing of assets. The EFCC can freeze the assets of officials who are undergoing investigation.
Even with immunity.
Mind you, the immunity is against prosecution, not investigation.
Okay.
You can't investigate people with immunity, but you can't prosecute them. So in the course of investigation, the EFCC can freeze the assets of, say, a sitting governor who has money in an account that is said to be proceeds of crime, using Section 34, subsection 1 of the EFCC Establishment Act 2004. The Commission can put a post-no debit on that account so that the funds will be inaccessible until the official leaves office and face, of course, interrogation to ascertain the source of that fund. Another way the EFCC had tried to conquer or handle the issue of immunity is by public awareness and advocacy. The EFCC often use public campaigns to highlight the impact of corruption and build support for reforms, including reforms that targets potential amendment to the immunity clause, probably to limit the coverage of such of the immunity clause. Another approach is post-tenure prosecution. The EFCC will wait for you once you finish your term and the immunity, of course, ends. The EFCC will come after 100%. You. Several former governors have been prosecuted. The accountable example, of course, countless examples of former governors who have been prosecuted. And then building collaboration with other agencies. The Commission continues to work, with other agencies and international organizations with a view to gathering evidence and building strong cases in preparation for the victims or the offenders or would-be offenders, and wait for them until their immunity expires, and then the Commission can have them face the law.
With all the explanations, as regards to immunity clause, would you recommend the scrapping of immunity clause for the effective anti-corruption fight?
I will rather go with the middle ground, which is to limit the scope of immunity, that it should not cover all aspects. So I am one of those who advocates for reforms in the immunity clause, limiting the scope, abolishing it for certain officials. For instance, in the United States, only the president
that enjoys
immunity. The governors and all that do not enjoy immunity. Strengthening oversight mechanisms, constitutional amendment, and public advocacy and awareness in relation to this, and then ensuring that we evolve a system in which those who are thrust to position of public trust are those whose integrity quotients are very high, and so we know that they will not go there and use the power with impunity to abuse the system and for their own personal gain.
Before I let you go, what are your last words to those listening or watching us on this topic?
I will say that the debate around Nigeria's immunity clause is a complex one and will continue to go on because it revolves around balancing protection for public officials with the need for accountability and justice. While the clause was designed to ensure officials can focus on their duties without distraction, the misuse of that clause in the course of their duties have raised concern about corruption and impunity. Reforms, whether through limiting its scope or ultimately a scrapping, as you asked earlier, should focus on addressing issues of transparency, accountability, and public trust. And so for me, immunity clause should be limited, and that it should not protect the public officers in all aspects of the person's behavior.
My name is Miracle Chukwagozim. Back to the studio for the rest of the program.
And with that, we have come to the end of this week's episode of The Eagle. Keep sending in your messages, enquiries, and suggestions to info@efcc.gov.ng. You can also call us on 0809 3322 644.
Also, use the EFCC mobile app, the Eagle app, to report any fraud you see happening around you. Just download the app, follow the steps, and report fraud on the go, and can also take pictures of corrupt practices and upload. Also, remember to join us every Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. Nigerian time on our web-based town hall meeting called the EFCC Connect, where we answer your questions and not your observations of the anti-corruption fight in order to serve you better. Listen to EFCC Radio 97.3 FM, the voices against economic and financial crimes. I am Abbas Abubakar.
And I am Aisha Muhammad, leaving you with these words from Bob Marley that says, "The greatness of a man is not in how much wealth he acquires, but in his integrity and his ability to affect those around him positively." God bless you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Be kind to yourself and to others around you. Do enjoy the rest of the day.